needed for Node. It's related to the static stack RFC. So wondering if there's any update, any further discussion needed for this proposal. Okay. Okay, got it.
What are we waiting for on this one? On that one?
I think just the other stacks maintainers review.
Got it.
I approved it. I think all my concerns were addressed at this point. So I think we just need a review from Rob or Brian, who are on the stacks maintainer team.
All right, thank you. Okay. Okay, next up. RFC about builder config. Okay, this one's from Sam. Seems like it depending on upstream development. So besides that, is there any other update? Anything else discussed with this proposal?
I think I'm going to ask Sam maybe to put this back into like a draft state or something. Just seems kind of silly. We talk about it every week and say we're not going to do this. And the one that's upstream is making progress, is just slow. Just seems kind of silly for us to talk about it every week.
Thank you. All right. And finally, Ruby dependency changes.
Yeah, this is a new one. I just put it in. It's for our plan for the Ruby language family dependencies. So with the dependency management changes we're moving away from the dep server, as people may know. So we have to decide whether we want to start using dependencies directly from upstream or if we want to continue compiling them. In this case, there are 3 dependencies that we have in the Ruby language family. Ruby itself, bundler, and curl, which is used in the passenger build pack. And I think that for all 3 of them, we will need to do some kind of compilation. So that's kind of laid out here. How we'll do dependency like verification using, SHA-256 or whatever it is for each dependency, and just kind of where we'll get the source from to do the compilation. It's just laid out here. And I believe it already has a review from one Ruby maintainer, Ryan. So I'm just waiting for a review from Rob, who I believe is the other Ruby maintainer on the team. Anybody else can feel free to review it though, if they're interested.
Okay, thank you, Sophie. All right. Okay, anything else in terms of RFCs? Any question, discussion topic? All right. Next up, Cloud Native Buildpacks updates and questions. Is there any upstream update you would like to share here? Last week? No. Okay. Okay, next one. So the project updates, will provide a couple of them. First one, the Paketo Buildpacks project finally achieved passing grade in the Open Source Security Foundation best practices, which is great. Let me put it right here. There you go. So this is obviously there is no guarantee that the results of the project are 100% secure, etc. But it's a baseline of best practices in terms not only security but also analysis, quality, change control, etc. This one is maintained by the Open Source Security Foundation, part of Linux Foundation, and yeah, it's a process that we've been working on with members from the technical oversight committee and steering committee, and finally, the project is 100% compliant with the requirements that applied for the project. So yeah, this is great. It's a way to give users a level of confidence that the project meets at least a baseline of requirements and best practices on several domains. So yeah, this is great. Probably we'll expand further on this in the upcoming newsletter so you can learn more. Okay, there's a new survey available. I don't know if John, you'd like to.
Yeah, I can give an update on it. So we put together a survey to try to get some more information from our Paketo users. And so we want to see their preferences and documentation, how they learn, help they need, and then also dig into some usage and features of Paketo. So I don't want to ruin the surprise for the survey, but what I was hoping for is if somebody on this call, maybe not someone who's not a maintainer, to quickly go through it. I have gotten some feedback from the maintainers, but I'd just like to see, you know, from your perspective, how long this takes. Is a fine balance between getting the information that we want, but then at the same time, not overwhelming a person taking a survey so that we get, so they fill it out. So I think we only have like 1 or 2 questions as mandatory, the rest are optional, and try to do as many multiple choices. But is there anyone on this call who's who would be willing to go through it, and just let me know how long it takes you? Any feedback before we send it out to the whole community? My hope is that it takes 5 minutes to fill it out.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I can tell
Okay.
you,
Thank you.
no problem.
We will send you some swag for it as well.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Cool.
Well deserved. Awesome. Thank you, John. Anything else? Any question about the survey? Comment? All right. Thank you, John. Next up, working group meeting schedule. The changes are already implemented in the public calendar. So, you know, the end of this long discussion on how to handle a more inclusive and welcoming meeting schedule. We'll start rolling out an alternating schedule, having the working group meeting a week on the regular days and week. I mean, Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. The next week on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. That will be 5 p.m. Central European time, and so on and so forth. So the goal is to get started with this cadence in October. I'm displaying here the October calendar. So the first session October next week will be just in the regular schedule, including the roadmap update. But next week, we will have a session on Wednesday at October 12th on a different time. And then we'll start to iterate on that. So I will create reminders in Slack and also in the mailing list to make sure that everyone else out there is aware. Probably there will be some issues during the transition, and we will keep your eyes open to see if this is working, if it needs to be done in a different way. Of course, your feedback is appreciated. So that's the idea right now. I don't know if there's any question about this. Any comment? All right, thank you. Okay, is there any question, any topic you would like to bring up here?
I have something if people don't have anything already.
Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, I said I have something to bring up if no one else wants to talk.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
So I was doing some testing on ARM machines, and I'm finding that very difficult to do things because clearly everything's compiled for x86, and started looking at the pack tool and wondering, like, do we need to have pack somehow? Do multi-arch build pack creation? And then I realized that you have to compile the the build into text scripts beforehand, unless they're shell scripts. So basically, the build packs have to be multi-arch in order to make this work. So what I'm wondering is, you're using Jam to create, the build packs. I haven't really looked into exactly how that all works, but could we take, or would you consider taking that process, at least for the images that are pushed to Docker Hub, and just wrapping it inside of BuildKit so that you can create multi-arch versions of your build packs. And that way, when someone uses them, if they're on ARM, they're going to get the ARM version. If they're on x86, they'll get the x86 version. It's not something that you need to publish and say, hey, we support ARM, but it's a way to silently enable people to start tinkering with it. Because right now, the only way for me to do it is to go and pull all your repos, build them myself, push them somewhere else, or store them in locally or whatever. And it's a pretty tedious process. So I just wanted to kind of like throw this idea out there and see if there's any interest in doing it. And the other reason I'm bringing this up is the recent change to the Python build packs basically make it so that you can compile from source on any platform. And so when I went to go test that, I quickly discovered that all the other build packs are not going to work because they're compiled for x86. But if they were compiled for ARM, you could use it. And I've already proposed doing something similar for Node.js. So if you're able to build from source, then the biggest limitation is kind of like the biggest hurdle's already been removed. So just, anyways, I know it's kind of a lot, but just bringing it up, trying to start the discussion. I don't know if we need to have RFCs or whatever, but it would be good to kind of like get your thoughts on this.
I think this is definitely on the roadmap. We already have like implemented but not used in Paketo ARM like flags that allow us to do like multi-arch images for stacks. So the Jam Create Stack tool has a flag in it that lets you say like in the stack descriptor what platforms you want it to run on. By default, it just chooses, like if you don't specify a platform, it's going to do like a x86 build. But you can like list out x86 and ARM and all sorts of other PowerPC if you want. So it'll do that, and we're building like multi-arch images for that case. We need to do the same thing for build packs. We need to do the same thing for builders. It's just like basically like once you start thinking about architecture, it's like architecture is everywhere. So you just need to like every step all the way up the packaging chain, add ARM support. So like it makes a lot of sense. We started with stacks. That's like the bottom of the layers. The next step up is like build packs and their dependencies. I think the biggest issue there is like a little bit the build packs, but it's actually more like the dependencies that ship in the build packs have to be like compiled for ARM64 architectures and made available for those things. And that's just like there's more work involved in making that happen. But we definitely could do the work to do like ARM64 builds for build packs with multi-arch images and just do it basically the same way we're already doing the stack images, which is BuildKit derived.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I appreciate, you know, the levels of complexity, and you have to like kind of build one on top of another. Yeah, I just wonder if, you know, if you kind of like, you know, thinking out loud here, if you prioritize just making the build packs be multi-arch, the ones that get pushed to Docker Hub, that may enable people to contribute more and maybe, you know, get some more input from the community. I mean, I don't know how many people are looking at this, but I'm certainly looking at it. So you might get some input from me. But I know that there are others who are working with ARM. So yeah, so that, I mean, it would just be good to consider that.
Yeah, we're definitely considering it. It's like more an issue of like, do we just have time and the ability and like, you know, people with free time to like actually drive that specific thing forward. Us like taking on ARM64 stuff pulls us away from other things that we need to also be doing at the same time. Like the jammy stuff has eaten up like a considerable amount of our bandwidth and efforts so far this year. So yeah, it's really just a matter of like, we want to get to it as soon as we can, and how quickly can we get there, and what do we have to like maybe put down that are other things people might care about in the process.
Cool. Okay, and then the other thing I was going to bring up is that there's that RFC to get rid of the mix-ins, which I think everybody's seen at one point or another. And in it, they're talking about the targets for the operating system and architecture. I don't know when that's going to be implemented, but they're in the RFC, they're talking about using environment variables. So what I wanted to kind of like talk about is, if I were going to be making some changes to Buildpacks or considering them or proposing them, would it be you know, worthwhile using those environment variables as kind of like a trial? Here's how you're detecting your architecture. You know, it's getting passed in by the platform, that kind of thing.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the biggest thing that's the difference there is like today, the way we detect the like underlying stack OS is with this like opaque string of the stack ID. And we're moving away from that to be like, there's actually just like a number of things you can match against. Is it Linux? Is it this particular architecture? Is it this particular distribution or sets of versions of distributions? And they've already said they're going to like build that. It's just a matter of, again, for them, they have even less people working full time on that project. So it's like, when can they get to it? I know we've, as a project, have registered that we would like to see that happen sooner rather than later. And at some point, we may even contribute some of our own kind of engineering resources to help to drive that particular thing forward because we care about it that much. But yeah, I would say if you're looking to add something in the future, I'd rather see PRs come in that implement against the API that we're heading in that direction towards, rather than like the API we have today, since that API is like on its way out.
Cool. Great. All right. Well, I guess the last thing I'll say is I'm not trying to dedicate engineering cycles to this per se, but I am actively looking at it. So if there's some way I can help, you know, I'm willing to talk about it. So let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Jericho. Great discussion. All right. Is there any other question, any other topic you would like to discuss here? No. All right. Well, with that, thanks for your time and hope to see you next week. Goodbye.